Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I think that it's very interesting. I was listening to the Ranking Member Cummings talking about the vulnerability of government contractors and the questions of my colleague, Mr. Hurd, regarding whether or not companies that have government contracts must keep the same level of security and care that the OPM or other agencies would have to in terms of preparing for cyber attacks. Mr. Giannotti, I have a letter that was sent from USIS to Ranking Member Cummings on December 5th of 2014, and the letter says that the Federal agencies had the failure of the company. And I wanted to ask you some assertions that you made in that letter. In the letter, it says their counsel wrote that the critical cyber attack defense information only flowed in one direction, from USIS to the government. Is that correct?
In the discussion we had earlier about the shared responsibility to notify from a contractor to the government and the government to the contractor, that is correct.
What you're qualifying it now. So you're saying that
I'm not
in terms
qualifying
of
it. I'm suggesting that we were required and obligated by our contract to notify OPM that we had an intrusion, which we did immediately. And in the discussion that was held earlier, OPM recognized that they did not notify USIS, or I believe key point of their intrusion of March of 2014.
So in terms of the cyber defense information, was it one way or did it go both ways?
In my humble estimation, it was one way.
So it was from yours to the others. What would have, in your estimation, been the requirement of OPM or others towards you?
Well, I'm not a lawyer or a contract expert. I don't have the contract in front of me. But my understanding is that there's a requirement to notify, to say, we've got an issue, here's what the issue is, so that there's a free flow and sharing of information.
So if you have an issue, you're supposed to let them know, correct?
That's correct.
And that's what you felt you did?
Absolutely.
And then USIRT, did USIRT then, what did they do about that information that you gave them?
The CERT team?
Yes.
We invited the CERT team to our facilities in Grove City, PA, formally via a letter, and the CERT team arrived shortly after receiving that letter and enumerated our network and understood through discussions with our technicians as well as the third party that we hired what had transpired from the 5th of June through the time they arrived.
So why does your letter also state that USIRT has not provided USIS with any sort of briefing regarding information it may have uncovered during the course of its limited review?
Let me just be clear that I didn't write the letter you're referring to.
You're here testifying for your company. You're attorney. I'm an attorney. I would never write a letter as an attorney for a company without the entire company agreeing to that.
I'm just suggesting that I didn't write the letter.
But you're here to testify for the veracity of the letter. Was the letter correct or no?
We did not receive a briefing from CERT as to the findings that they had vis-a-vis the intrusion.
Okay, then let's ask CERT since they're here.
If I could finish, we did receive some recommendations relative to what we might do to
That's not a review?
Our invitation to CERT requested their assistance in identifying threats to our network, and we did not receive that.
Okay, well, let's ask Ms. Barron DiCamillo. Can you speak to that?
Yes. So our team was on site. It was an interagency response team, including our law enforcement partners. We worked, just part of the incident response team, what we do is we're working with the system administrators daily. We're informing them every day at the end of the day.
How many days did you inform them on a daily basis?
We were there for about 2 weeks. I'd have to go back and get the specific time frame.
So that's at least 10 reports that you've given them.
But we worked through the weekend, ma'am.
Through the weekend?
Yes.
So that's 14 reports that they were given, asserting what what the
The daily
issues were.
findings, and they can change, so that's why we don't
And did you
have a
find
report
something,
today.
and did you give them ideas about what needed to be done?
Yes, we were able to discover that there was malicious malware present on the network, that there was compromised credentials, specifically
And
domain
how did
level.
that happen? How did those compromised credentials, what were the 2 areas that you found within their own system that should have been taken care of previously?
We found a lack of some security mechanisms that would have helped prevent this kind of intrusion, but because of the lack of logging, we weren't able to find the initial point of entry. We were able to find
Can
activity
you talk
from
about that,
adversary.
the lack of logging? What is that?
There's a number of types of logs that we look at forensically that can help us piece together a picture of what's happened within your network.
And why weren't those there?
So there's a number of reasons. It's a risk decision, a risk-based decision. It can cost a lot of money
It's a
depending on the
risk
volume.
and a cost decision made by the company itself.
It can be because it can require quite a bit of storage associated with some of the kinds
So
of
the
logs.
government contractor that we hired to do government work for us decided that a risk and a cost decision on their part did not require them. They didn't put in the logins that were necessary to protect the system.
I can't answer that specifically. I can just give you some of the reasons I've seen that people are not continuing to have the historical logs because of the volume of data. There's millions of NetFlow records that happen a day, and that does require quite a bit of storage. And
So the letter that was sent by USIS to Ranking Member Cummings, would you agree with the assertions that were made there?
no, I would not. We did provide them daily reports as well as a final findings report. We went over that with the team, and then we also provided a mitigation report, and I have documented evidence of all of that.
Thank the gentlewoman. Did you want to respond to that?
If I may,
Sure.
it's my understanding from our forensic investigator, Strauss Friedberg, that what was found by the CERT team vis-a-vis Ms. Baron DiCamillo's comments was not information that they hadn't already discovered. In other
So
words-
the
in other words-
logins that were needed for them to be able to go and do a deeper forensic was something that they already knew?
That
think what
what
he's
I-
Yes or no? Did they already
We
know that?
confirmed
No.
the forensic evidence of the third-party partner.
Thank
So,
you.
right. So I believe what he's saying is, it sounds a bit of a, just, it was a confirmation, and we were able also to confirm the compromised credentials associated with the third-party forensic firm that they had in there. And then we were able to discover additional findings throughout the assessment that we did.